Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the country you are. Sometimes we have folks actually from Europe that attend, so I always have to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is a very special event because, first of all, we have the rare opportunity. We've had a chance to play on what I'm playing on today, so we have a rare opportunity. Sean said, I've got to do a show on this instrument while I have it. In last year, we started doing Zoom in April, May, so it's over a year ago. And not once have we had the opportunity to play and do a show and a presentation on the instrument that he's going to start on. We've had a couple opportunities to do it on the one I'm on, but so we decided, why don't we both do a show together? And this is great because I don't have to drive all the way up to Mesa to do it. All I have to do is turn on Zoom. By the way, in case you're wondering, Sean Maloney is in Mesa, Arizona, and I am in Tucson, Arizona. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to play. We're going to show off. Don't forget to kind of tell what some of the things you're doing as you're doing it, because some people have instruments that are similar. Might be a good learning experience for those who have a similar instrument. And we'll just keep this moving. And without further ado, all the way from Mesa, Arizona, let's give it up for Mr. Sean Maloney, everybody.
All right. Boy, am I excited today. He's not kidding. I told him I have pretty much my favorite instrument here, and I never get to play it. Sometimes we do different concerts and events, and, depending on what I'm playing, sometimes I get a little nervous. However, with this instrument, I never get nervous. This is the most comfortable instrument to me, and it is called the Lowrey Fanfare. So it's very similar to what he's going to be playing on, but a little different. So let's begin here. I'm just going to play a fun song that I really enjoy. I actually used the song setup here, and I'm going to play some Dixieland music. So see if you can spot the tune here. You'll recognize it right away, I think. That's a fun rhythm to play. That's called the Dixieland style, which actually it tells me in my screen right here now. So that's a nice feature here. It actually tells me the names of the rhythms. So if you can see from there, it's kind of hard to see. It's a little far away. I can show you a little bit closer maybe, but this is very similar if you're familiar to the Easy series. So if you've ever had an Easy 4 or 10 or anything like that, it's in the same family. This is the great uncle of the Easy series. So what they have is this, let me show you here. On the left side, the rhythm panel that I'm using, it's similar. If you've ever seen those, it's got all the genre or style buttons, and then you have either a full band, pianist, or guitarist. So all those are really on the Easy 10. What they do, though, is they add one little button here called Group 2, which basically just turns the page, and then it makes every, standards full band or standards pianist, what have you. It gives you a second option if you touch this. So you get double whatever you have on, say, an Easy 10, for example, plus more, which I'll get into later. But you have full band pianist and guitarist. Anytime I have that Group 2 button on, it's going to be a brand new rhythm, and it's going to sound real nice. So I'm going to go through a couple of these because they're all my favorites. If I go to standards full band with the Group 2 on, I get a rhythm called Smooth Foxtrot, which is made for the song Begin the Beguine, if you're familiar. Listen to the background. There's all sorts of cool stuff going on. If you listen in between all the melody parts, you're going to hear them kind of filling in for me. So that is my new full band of the standards button here. So it's different from that Frank and the Count rhythm you've probably heard a
Big
thousand
round of
times.
applause. Hold on, we got to give you a round of applause.
Yay! Thank you, Robert. If I go further, I love these pianist and guitarist type rhythms because, not every song you listen to on the radio is going to have, drums and percussion and strings and sousaphones and all sorts of things going on. Sometimes you just want a piano player. Like if you listen to a song on the radio, it's just a lady singing and a piano, or a guy, So if I want to do that, I just touch the pianist button, and it turns this whole instrument into a piano. And when I have my Group 2 button on, I get a new rhythm in the screen. It says Jazz Club. Now this is one of my favorites because it works with almost anything you want. And it's just going to sound like I'm playing in a jazz club. And it gives you the sort of piano theme. Now, what I'm going to do is throughout this song, I might, change the numbers here. These are called setups. Some of you have those, some of you don't. When I go through them, it's actually going to add more members to the background band as well, automatically. So let's start. Here we go. Just piano. Let's change. Here we go.
Oh, give it up.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I love that rhythm. That's one of my favorites. You can really play anything with that. I had a
Very
coworker
good,
at one point.
Sean. Very good.
Thank you, Mary. I was running through that with a coworker one time, and he was showing all the different songs he can play with just that one type of rhythm, jazz club. You can make anything jazz. If I go to the guitarist, It's still on Group 2 and Standards. Now I got a Gypsy Rag. This is another one of my favorite new ones. Another one that almost works with anything. I like to do ragtime stuff, any kind of like, what is it, Django Reinhardt, that type of style. But I'm going to change it up a little bit and make it a little goofy, and I'm going to play a Beatles song with this one. This is a really fun style, and as I do all of these, it's going to start out with just a guitar. And then as I change these buttons here, the rest of the band's going to come in and kind of join me. So let's start there, and this song is called Michelle. Here we go. I'm going to hit mute all just in case there's any background noise. There we go. Really fun. Thank you.
That's fun.
Yeah. I just thought to do that like right before. I just looked at that song. I was like, I want to do that song. I've never tried that. That was the first time playing that song. But I like it. And it sounds nice with the rhythm, so why not? One thing in the a lot of the instruments that we play on, and it kind of starts with this one, you'll hear a lot of the time we use these. There's a type of rhythm style called a signature style. Does anybody know what that means? I think we've taught some classes here about it, so maybe you guys know? Thought I heard somebody saying something. A signature style is just a rhythm style on your panel that's actually based on an original arrangement. So rather than just have big band, and just a general big band sound, I get something more precise that models after your favorite artists, your favorite songs. If I do, on this instrument, they have the country pianist option, just like on the Easy series, but if I have that group 2, then I get a new rhythm that's not just any piano player. If I want to play country on a piano, I want to play with the best. I want to play with Floyd Kramer. So that's what happens. When I touch country pianist and my new group 2, I get Floyd Kramer built in. So I get to play with them. So I'm going to start this off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play half of the song, and then I'm going to kick my foot to the right on the little foot switch in there, and then I get what's called a fill-in or FX. But this one on this particular rhythm is special, because what it does is if I hold it down, Floyd Kramer actually joins me and plays the melody along with me. So I'm going to do that throughout, and I might just look for me to do this. I might do that just to show you when I press it, and I'm just going to hold it down. So here we go. Here's me and my buddy Floyd. Do this. All right, Floyd, you ready? Isn't that cool? I get to play with my favorite. That's
Big round
exciting.
of applause. Woo-hoo,
Thank you.
woo-hoo.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're my favorite.
So, oh, thank you. That's really sweet. What they do, this is really cool. This instrument is chock full of these signature styles. So a lot of the names, and you'll see them on the screen because they add that, where they tell you what the rhythm is, and then below that it even tells you what sounds you're using. And anytime you change these buttons, it'll adjust and it'll say, okay, now you got a guitar, now you got strings, now you got organ, and it'll tell you all that. But what's nice is some of these signature styles, they might be meant for a certain song, but you can really use them for a lot of things. So I'll use one as an example. There's a rhythm style in here called Supreme Shuffle, which is made for the 60s group, The Supremes. And if you do the introduction, you can hear exactly what it's meant for. So it's really Motown-esque. But what I like to do is I say, I don't want to play that song. I'm going to play a different song. So you could do something like this. Get some tequila. Tequila. Tequila.
Tequila!
But that's just so fun to be able to just sit down and play that. That doesn't work with many rhythms, that song, so it's kind of nice to finally have one I can do that with. I think it's that one and Mambo, and that's about it that work for that. So, last couple things I'll go in that, and then I'm going to kind of send it over to Robert to show what he's got there. It's another similar instrument to this in the same family. But some things I love about this, like I said, that this instrument in particular makes me feel really at home and comfortable because it's just so easy to use. And it does still have a lot of the high-end features that they take from the big instruments and put it in kind of a smaller cabinet. So it's not so overwhelming, but it's not underwhelming either. That's why I call it whelming. It'll whelm you. It's right in the middle. Perfect. Because it has easy stuff, but it also has some really nice features, like if you like what you're doing, you can save your work on here. I love that. It saves a lot of time. So I can save my work so I don't have to press all the buttons every time. Just lock it in. I can also record. And as I taught a class a couple weeks ago that some people say, oh, I don't need to record myself. Nobody wants to hear me. Well, first off, they do. You know, you got kids or grandkids sometimes. They love to hear you play, even if you don't. But one thing that's great to use it for is learning. You can record just the left hand of the song, and then afterward, play just the right over it. You know, it's a really good learning tool. So you got that. You've got all sorts of extra features on here. Pedal Magic, which kind of teaches you how to play the pedals. Or if you don't want to play the pedals, you can have it do you can have it do a special effect. You know, you can have it do the fill, all sorts of things. And one of my favorite sections is over here. All the way on the right, you've got your headphone jack, so I can play and nobody has to hear me. Microphone input, that's if you want to do karaoke with it, you can do that. And there's a little stereo input, which means you can get like a little cord like this and plug your phone in, you know, and listen to YouTube or whatever. I use it to learn a song a lot because I'll play it through here, and then I'll play along with it, you know, kind of a fun feature. And lastly, my all-time favorite feature on here, which is on some of the other instruments too, called Song Setup. And this instrument's very special because it has, I think, over 200 song setups in it of the most common songs known to man. And this is what the list looks like. There's a front, and then there's a back. All those different songs that I can do. And what's really neat on this instrument in particular is, that's why I said earlier you have double what the Easy 10 here has. You have 72 rhythms on your panel here. But in your song setup, you have more. Because what happens is if I use it to set up certain songs, it actually finds a signature style that's actually not supposed to be in here. They hide it. So you've got one called, I'll use this as my closer here because this is a fun song I just decided to do. In my song setup, there's one for One Fine Day, which is a great song by the group Chiffons from the 60s. And it brings up a rhythm called Shooby-Doo Bop Day. So you're going to hear a lot of shooby-doobies and vocal sounds, which are really fun because it sounds like real people because it was real people. They recorded them in here. So here we go. Let's do some One Fine Day. I'm going to even speed it up a little bit because why not? Let's go a little faster. Here we go. Give it up for the Lowrey Fanfare, my favorite. Really good and classy.
Mr. Tom Lowrey and the Lowrey Fanfare. Woohoo! We got to give a fanfare applause, right? Yeah.
All right, and what have you got there, Robert?
Well, hopefully something is just as exciting as you. It's always fun. I'm going to just start playing and then I'll talk a little bit, but I need a little help here, I think, in getting started. Let's see here. Just do this and I'm gonna play a song dedicated to you because I'm looking on the screen here and all the people I can see. You're all good looking people, aren't you? Yeah, so this is for you folks. Here we go. How's that? Oh, yes. Big round of applause for the Lowrey Journey, everybody. Big round of applause. Woo, yes. Take a bow, take a bow. You know, interesting because if you saw what Sean was playing, you'll notice that what he is playing looks very similar. In fact, let me just do this. Let me add a spotlight to Sean. Where are you there? Add spotlight. Now look at those two models. Don't they look the same, folks? They look very similar. These two models were the only ones that ever had this particular design. Now this rack here holds so many sheets of music. See if you can count along with me. Ready? If I wanted to put, like, for example, one of the songs I'm going to play today actually has 5 pages in Easy Play. I'm going to do it without the music, but you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 30 pages of music on top. No, I'm just kidding. You could 1, 2, 3. I think I got 5 comfortably at one point. But one of the things that was very clever that Lowrey did on some of the models over the years, not all of them, but some of them, I used to love it when someone had an instrument X and I said, hey, take a look at instrument Y. And they go, that doesn't look any different. And I thought it was the most clever thing because what Lowrey did over the years, and I think where they had the most success on a lot of the models, was when some of the models actually had the same cosmetic, the same footprint, but all of the magic happened in the additions. And I'll share some of those with you. Now, first thing is, that was a new style, by the way, on the Journey when it was introduced. And a lot of the styles that you're going to hear, what made the Journey special was they added styles from organs like the Prestige, the Sterling, the Imperial, even the Patriot. Now, what do all those models have in common? They were at one point in time the most expensive home organs in the world. And they found a way to take some of the best off of the top of line models and shrink it 2 ways. First, price, that always helps. And 2, in size. And so they kept a nice, sleek size and put it all the goodies. Now, I'm going to screen share something with you. Let's see if I have it here. Sean was talking about rhythm styles. Now, if you see that, can you see the rhythm styles there, folks? All right. So if you look in there, so what it is 1 and 2 were all of the categories, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, all of the categories that Sean was choosing from. On the Journey, they added categories 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. So Texas Blues, for example, is here. All right. And those are all that's what essentially happens is on the dashboard, your styles, without having to add any extra buttons, go from 72, they double in the amount of styles. Ooh, are you ready to go? Yes, because I see one here says, oh, go. This style actually was introduced on the Lowrey Patriot. Oh my goodness. Now, I noticed earlier, Sean, you played a couple of styles and what you did is you chose to play different songs. Now, when you hear this style, a go, I want you to think you probably will think of Nancy Sinatra and These Boots Are Made for Walking. All right, now I'm going to play a little bit of that. When you hear the introduction, you're going to actually, this signature style, you're going to hear that song in mind. So I'll play a little bit of These Boots Are Made for Walking. But I'm going to show you how diverse these styles are. You can use them multiple ways, okay? So I'm going to select the a-go-go style, and it was under the pop on the list there, so I'll do that. One button to set it up. Here we go. Now you guys got to do the part. Now, same style. Listen very closely. Totally different now. Woo!
Cool.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm having fun. All I did was use the same style, and I played a minor chord, and then I used another button while I was playing. Would you like to know what I did? You see your heads? Yes? Okay, stick around. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. It's really cool. It's probably it's up there in one of my top 10 favorite buttons to use because whenever we're playing along in concert, in person, whatever, any of the artists, any of the player, hobby player, I always tell if you're if you're playing and you're not sure what to do, but you want it to sound different, just push this button. I'll tell you what it is in just a minute. It's foolproof and it won't sound bad. That's a good thing. Now, I've got to play another one of my favorite styles. Now, this style was taken off of the instrument called the Lowrey Imperials, where it was first introduced. The Imperial had all sorts of great signature styles, and I really love this signature style. However, this is one of those styles that I actually use for a totally different song. So we're going to switch it up a little bit here. Now, some of you may have heard, or if you saw it, quite some time ago now, there was a movie called Slumdog Millionaire. And it takes place overseas, of course, in another country, the setting of the movie. And it's a drama. And long story short, there was a style that was introduced that they put on here called Slumdoggy. I discovered through paying attention to someone else that if you use this style with a minor chord, it's great for a song like Phantom of the Opera. Okay? So I'm going to use Slumdoggy, but I'm in a pinch here, Sean. I don't have my chart up where the rhythm chart is, and I can't remember what button Slumdoggy is. Do you know where it's at or what I can do?
Yeah, I think there's one thing you could do in the feature menu that makes it easier.
What's that?
There's a style list.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a new
this is
feature.
cool. Maybe I don't know if I can zoom in on it, but if all the instruments like this have features, if you touch feature on here, actually the first one that pops up says style list. Now I know Sean mentioned Shooby Dooba something day, and he mentioned Smooth Foxtrot. And there's a lot of styles being thrown at you, and a lot of times people write them down, and the first thing they do is they look for them over here, and then you try to find in the categories and the variations. Lowrey on some of the models put a feature called Style List, and it's real simple. You just touch it, and then when you select it, you can scroll through all of the styles that that instrument has, whatever model it is, alphabetically. So in this case here, I just scroll up or down. I'll probably go backwards since it's the S's. It'll get me there quicker. And there it says Slumdoggy. And then I hit select, and then automatically it's set it up for me, and it even tells me where it's located. So in this case, it's on the Broadway full band, one of the new styles that's been placed on here. This is absolutely a lot of fun, okay? Now, I'm going to play Phantom of the Opera. What I'm going to do is play just a snippet of the introduction like it normally is. If you just do like a C chord, this is the theme and the introduction, the signature introduction to Slumdog, the theme from Slumdog Millionaire. which is really great for that style of music. But if I do the minor chord again, watch how totally different this is. And I'm going to do a little bit of Phantom of the Opera for you. Big round of applause. Yes, yay. So, the idea here is having as many styles as possible with alternatives. It's almost like doubling what Sean said to doubling to doubling. It's almost like having 144 times 2. That's a lot of variety. Now, one of the things that's been a staple for Lowrey over the years, whenever new models were introduced and what have you, was, and if you've attended any of our classes, you hear us talk about it frequently, and that is a very common word called preset or setup, okay? On the E series, the terminology is setup. And what setup does is exactly what it sounds like. It sets up the instrument with a sound, a setup, an arrangement, whatever it is that you're using, that works perfectly, that sounds great for the top, the bottom, and what have you. So as you notice here, there are 8 buttons here. And whenever I use a style and style setup, I get 8 additional setups for every style. Well, that's great, because the more styles you have, the more setups. So like 9 times 144 is quite a bit, okay? Lowrey took that a step further on some of the models, and on the Fanfare, there's what's called category setups. Now, originally, this was introduced on the flagship models like the Prestige, the Imperials, the Symphonies, the Sterlings, all those models that typically had an extremely high retail value to it. And what Lowrey did is they put some of the best categories on the Fanfare, and you may not be able to see it from there, but there's a few of those here. And what they did on the Journey is no extra buttons, but when I press this little button that says more, I get additional categories, and I'll just play a couple of these. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a couple snippets of different songs, but I'm going to do it without all of the styles and the rhythm style, because a lot of times what I like to do is let people hear these sounds individually without all of the background. Years ago, when I say years ago, I mean back in the early 90s, even back probably in the 80s, when people demonstrated organs and they said, listen to this saxophone, or listen to this clarinet, or listen to this piano, they had to do a lot of work at really conditioning the consumer to believe it sounded as realistic as possible. You put on a banjo, it sounded like someone took some tin cans and rattled them around. But the demonstrator's really good at making it sound like, boy, this is cutting edge technology. Well, now I don't even have to do that. When I play a clarinet, it is a live clarinet. But they went a step further, and what they did is they took some of the greatest artists of our time and they the sounds that they put here, they, I would say the word copied their sound and put it here. So when you hear these instruments, you're going to think it's Benny Goodman. You're going to think it's Harry James or Tex Beneke or um, Tommy Dorsey, etc. I'm talking too much. Let me play. So the first one that comes up is, it says Louis A. and T.R. Shake. Now it's simple, Louis A. and T.R. Shake. I don't know if you know what that means, but what it means to me is that when I play on the top keyboard, it's going to sound like Louis Armstrong's signature trumpet. And then when he did some really jazzy stuff, he had this technique and he really blew on and shook the note. They had to be really good. On here, I used to think you had to move your finger around. Actually, it does it automatically. So here's Louis Armstrong. Just a nice signature sound. Now, when he really played some, like Dixieland, what have you, he'd play and then he'd do this technique. A lot of trumpet players, and they blow and they shake the note. So now, if you really shake your hand really good, it doesn't matter. It does it anyway. I don't know what it is. You see any of us play, we all have a tendency of wiggling our finger like it's doing something. And you can imagine that eyeball of Louis kind of going haywire when he played. Another one of my favorites, I mentioned Harry. Harry had a different trumpet sound, and Benny Goodman. Now, Benny Goodman, Harry James, notice the difference between that sound and Louis' sound. That's what made some of the artists. There was always great trumpet players, but they stood apart because of their technique and their style. Tommy and Jimmy, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, those signature sounds. Or one of my favorites is, does anybody know what a Stradivarius is? Most people say it's like one of the most expensive violins in the world, right? Anybody know guess what one of those are valued at these days? Does anybody know? I know it's 6 figures or higher because of their.
Is it? Oh.
It's known to be an extremely expensive, the way it's made and what have you. I could never understand how 6 figures or more, but
Yeah.
here's what I do know. It's on here now, and I don't have to spend 6 figures. Listen.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love this song.
Woo. Oh, et cetera, et cetera. What's really cool is that anytime I put them, it tells me what's in the window. So that's how I know what sounds are there. So I'm just pressing in. Oh, yeah, this may be a little bit before your time, but you ever heard of the name Guy Lombardo? I think no matter what age we are, we all know Guy Lombardo.
I heard of them. I know. Yes.
Because of the New Year's Eve, New Year's, Auld Lang Syne, that signature sound many years ago. This was kind of interesting because if you think about big band orchestras, they all have brasses and saxes and so forth, but his sound for that, especially when the ball dropped, was a very signature sound that can only be captured by him. And guess what? It's on here now with one finger. Listen. Oh, I just get chills playing some of these. Anyway, so there's some new category presets or setups that are phenomenal. Now, I wanted to do this in the beginning of the show, and San said, that's too good of a feature to just start the show off. You got to kind of wait. Now, many of you had the opportunity of seeing, I got Joni, Jerome, Sean, I see Andrew Leach in the background there, Joe Fantasia, you name it. All of these great artists that have performed, and they play these wonderful tunes, and then every now and then they go off on the beaten path and they start doing all these extra little notes. Have you ever seen that? We call it simply a solo. And we've kind of often said, if you want to do that, use the Fake It button. Now, some of the models have a feature called Fake It. And what it involves is you turning it on and tapping out the notes. But we've had some students that said, you know, that's too much work. I want it to be easier. So what Lowrey did is they gave us a new improved Fake It. They call it Fake It Plus. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick a style called Nolan's Pianist. Okay? So it's going to sound something like this. And I might speed it up a little bit. All right, so that'll be the style. Maybe I'll bring in the drummer, okay? But I'm gonna have a piano here and a, kind of like Pete Fountain, the way he did it, okay? And before I play, I'm gonna do it two ways. Rather than me playing and doing a solo myself, I'm gonna turn on the Fake It, but watch what I do differently. All I have to do is hold down a note, and it does all of the solo notes perfectly without me having to guess. Now, I'll give you an example. I'm going to leave it right there. Before I play, I'm just going to hold down a black note. Here we go. We'll get the clarinet giving me a pre-introduction to the introduction. Let me turn on Fake It. Here we go. And what's really cool is it takes whatever chord you're playing. So if I start off with a C or C7th, the notes will change. Now, here's a C7th. We'll let them play a little bit. And introduction. All right, here we go. Fake it. Just hold it on the note and if you want, you can do it on both keyboards. Two solos going on. Oh, yes. Woo! Eat your heart out, Jerome. That's one of Jerome's performance songs. He sings and he razzle dazzles. Now I can do what Jerome is doing just by putting the Fake It on and holding a note. So there you go. Oh,
Very good.
I told you I had a button that was foolproof that will make your music enhanced. Basically, you're playing along, you go, oh, I want it to sound different and better, or just as good. Okay. And I don't know if you noticed, but I've reached up a few times throughout all of my song selections. I've been coming up, pressing a button here. Can you see what that button says? Right there?
No.
Okay. I'll tell you about it in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. Before I do it, and before I forget, I have a little gift. Actually, I'll just tell you what my gift is. And here's the easiest way to do this. I'm going to ask Sean to type it in the chat. Or if you can remember this, write this down. I'll tell you. My email address is rroman@fletchermusic.com. So RROMAN at FLETCHERMUSIC.com. And if all else fails, the email that you got from me today saying today is the show, that's coming from my email address. If you just email me and say, great show, may I have the free music? Okay, this is what I'm going to give you. And let me pull it up here. It is a selection of songs songs like Solitude to On the Sunny Side of the Street, One Fine Day that Sean played earlier, Lullaby, what is that? Lullaby Birdland, Friends in Low Places, Johnny Mathis's Chances Are, Ragtime. There's like, I want to say about 24 great songs. I will send you a copy of that, and just to have another collection of songs. The reason why it's significant is that particular songbook was a list of songs that we used when we introduced an organ called the Lowrey Prestige. And the reason why it would work is because a lot of those songs, first of all, they're great songs. You can play them with any styles. But for some of you who have the Prestige or a Fanfare or Journey, there's a lot of those styles that are pulled from that instrument, like I said earlier. So there'll be some great signature styles in there as well. And if you don't have those signature styles, there's a lot of great songs in there. Obladi Polka, for example, Obladi, Oblada, just all sorts of great songs. So all you have to do if you want it is email me, but you have to start by saying great show, and then may I have the music, please? I don't care what you say after that. Anyway, before I play my next number, which is really cool, because I'm going to tell you about that foolproof button, and then I'm also going to talk about something that's very important in technology today, and then end with a great song to boot. I put in the emails, I think I was saying, are very rare performance, once in a lifetime. And I've had some people say, well, we see you guys all the time, right, Sean? They see Sean all the time on classes and so forth. Mm-hmm. Well, it's rare because, first of all, I mentioned earlier, last year, we started doing Zoom in April. And today, after a year and a month or so, is the first time we've ever had an opportunity to feature. We featured a ton of models, Estes and Lowrys, over the last 13 months. But today is the first time we actually had a chance to feature the Lowrey Fanfare that Sean is sitting at right there. There he is. And it's so rare that when we get one of those in, they literally leave right away. And the Journey, we've had some spots of opportunities. But the reason why we did it in the last minute, 2 days ago, you probably saw the first email, is because 2 days ago, we didn't have a fanfare, and we only had one Journey. And Sean said, you know, we ought to do a show one of these before it leaves again. We're going to miss our opportunity to do that and have some fun with this. And so these instruments are now to the point where Lowrey, because they ceased production in Lowrey organs 2 or 3 years ago, we're now to the point where these models, which we used to have a decent quantity of, are now an extremely limited supply. So as an example, in Florida, we technically do not have a Lowrey Fanfare. We do have one coming in on trade. In Mesa, we just acquired a Lowrey Fanfare. So there's only one of each in the entire world. Now talk about rare. Journeys. This is going to come as to a surprise to some of you. We only have one Lowrey Journey in all of state of Florida, and it's actually still classified as new. Now we can't sell those as new, but we had them. What that means is it's never been sold and put in a home and traded back in. And the instrument I'm playing on, I was surprised. I was moving it into the room. On the back, it still has the package that comes with it. This is actually still a new model, never been sold. In fact, if you see it here, if you can see it in the camera, this actually still has the plastic that I've refused to take off until it gets delivered. It has the plastic. Oh, I'm making it look funny. The plastic wrapping on here, there's actually still has the plastic so it doesn't get scratched. These instruments are extremely rare, extremely hard to find. And if you like what you heard, I know some of you I can tell some of you actually have an instrument like this. Hope you learned lots. But if it's an instrument of interest, I'm going to encourage you to contact your personal assistants very fast, because they come in and they go out sometimes as we breathe. And I'm going to encourage you to contact your personal assistants as quickly as possible, okay, if there's an interest. And we have for our club members, Fletcher Music Club members, special pricing just for club members. So having said that, let me finish up with this last song here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I said this foolproof button. I think 3 or 4 of the songs I played today, I went up and I reached and I touched this button called alter style. What it does is just what it says. While I'm playing, it alters the style. Now, why on the Journey and some of our larger models? And here's why. If you ever listen to music on any of the Lowrey products, if you listen to some of the smaller models or older models, you'll notice that background is really nice and orchestrated, but if you listen closely, you'll notice they do what's called a loop. And all that means is it plays it's programmed so many measures, and then it loops and it continues. Now, it's not as noticeable when you're playing songs because you're focusing on the melody, you're playing, you got the background, okay? And it's not like, oh, that's boring, it does the same thing over and over. It's not that bad, okay? But if you just sat and you listen to some of the styles, you can catch where they tend to loop. Well, a lot of that is a result of what's called memory, simple thing called memory. Computers, the more memory it has, the more it can do. And when the larger models were introduced over the years, they added more memory so that the styles of music can do a lot more, a lot longer. In some cases, I want to say 1632 measures before it loops. This gives Lowrey the opportunity, when Sean was talking about signature styles, when you're playing songs that it's designed for that signature style, it'll go a much longer length of time, just like the original band. If you listen to an actual recording of a song like what I'm going to play here called Mac the Knife, a little bit before your time. But if you listen to that song, you'll notice what makes the magic happen in that song is the arrangement of the band changing their arrangement as they play, okay? So what I'm going to do is I play the song. I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to simply select my style here. I'm going to put on style setup 0. Nothing fancy. I'm just going to play the song and the notes. And if you notice the melody to the song Mac the Knife, the melody repeats over and over. The magic happens in the band. So I'm going to play it once or twice through. Listen to the background changing subtly to build. And then when I put alto style, that magic happens again. So there's so many measures before it even loops again, just like an original, what we like to call live performance band. Okay? So here we go. Notice the band. Nice and subtle. Here we go again. Listen to the band. All built up. Alto style. One more time. Different in the background. Look, go back, I'll make it back. And a big round of applause, everybody, to the Lowrey Journey, everybody. Yay, give me a big round. Oh, and wait, let's not forget Mr. Sean Maloney and the Lowrey Fanfare. Big round of applause. Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We
That
hope
was
you
really
enjoyed-
nice.
We hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoyed our,
Thank you.
our presentation. Thank you so much.
for
Call your personal assistant.
question.
Say, yes,
Robert,
yes,
can you please tell us your email address again?
sure. It's RROMAN as in
Mhm.
Nancy, at F as in Fletcher, LETCHERMUSIC.com. And another easy way to acquire that is if you got the email from me today saying click here to join and what have you, that if you reply to that email, that is my email address. That is
Great, thank you. The
Thank you.
concert was great.
We hope you enjoyed. Call your
Bye. See you
personal
next-
assistants and
see
say,
you next
tell me more
time."
about the Lowrey Fanfare and the Lowrey Journey. Thank you. Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
music.
That was really awesome
Bye-bye.
presentation. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Yes,
You
have a
too.
good
Bye,
weekend.
Robert. Bye, Sean.